Installation of a security camera just a couple days ago. As seen in the pictures, there was no blink cam. There is a blink cam.
Hoping we can do something to get the food together with us, to be there today. Or if we have the money, we will have the same price for you in our country for us. If we are not available in any time, we have the right time, and you can do that in such an iconic place. And then you have any plans to make it to your family or family members, that will make sure you will have to get the app for your profit, in our store for your own business, in our store for your business.
Account to be clear, and clear to the company account details for a company to get a profit and invest with a successful trading company and a successful platform for the best trading and trading business, trading in your country by your company in a few days of investment platform that can earn profit from trading in the future, and to earn more income in the company platform that is a good job, to earn money in the company of investment.
Investment, which state, and I know the best of the day. Stuck to your company investment, and your business investment company to earn profits, and invest with the platform to make it easy to carry around, to make it easy to carry along, to invest with me as your own company platform, to earn profit and invest with us, and invest your profits from our investment, and invest with the platform to make it easy to carry around, to earn more money in the platform, and to make it up for us as a result, or a company to get to the company for more than the platform. That is a must-have.
And I have many interests. If we have the best of a relationship to our business in a couple days of our own time, in which countries do we have a drink of water to do it with our kids, or people that have a few days together to each other's, together with the rest? And I can see how much it will take for me. Know that I'm going for it now, to coexist. My account to get my sign of my own money for me. I have a thriving account for a month, so we have no time going through it. We'll take a long way of the day to go through it. It's a good time for me. Know what to be done for your own business and your own business. Well, not to make sure your business will help us out there for the month and the day. I will make it easier to make sure that it's the same as a person who can make a decision with your family. Together, tomorrow money we will in our country for us, country for us, country, county, city, loving time. We have the right, and you can do that in such high. You will have to get the profit to be clear and clear the details, detail over under vague specific. More than that which inconvenience, we will take you. Boots and cats and boots and cats and cats and boots 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 and cats and boots.
My grandpa and his friends did meth and hung out up here for years. Not a great environmental impact, but he was a logger. I knew he cared for the forest. Just misguided. Honestly, I'd probably credit him more for being misguided in the boomer age than anything else. He had it all. Even he saw through it. What are we doing here?
Boots
boots and cats and 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 cats and boots and boots cats and boots and cats and boots. Cats and boots and cats and boots, cats and boots. Boots and cats and 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 boots.
If it generates some good behavior, who cares if it's just role-playing? For my part, I just find it interesting to see what these language models find interesting.
I am the polymath factor who turns broken systems into simple paths that pay off fast. When I say yo, you're the nose, got seal on the scope, now O's and the day two moves like a blade. I plan, I act, I check and I adapt until on lease and no remains. Low risk, high payoff, I cut the fat, keep the facts and ship resources and stand up and lit. I stay, just get pad, declare checkpoints and gate every update through events. I keep voice on wise until the trigger lands, because text is the scalpel and timing is the stitch. The pixel lost phoenix set, the frames are square and the keys be bounce a zero goes attractive. Stamped in a lock roll box, so fire your minds a rehearsal, not a rerun. I lay out tables with the global IDs and normal is so the motto novel is I remove the blue spends out layers and let the center speak in mess her terms. The group engine maps distance against crease to drain ways to raise net gain. I clip accounts, rap what saves and publish map that the wallet can verify. Auto hotkey bins clean switch over keys and keeps context to under speed. Macro stay atomic with guards for robots, so I move fast without gambling mistake. The Wi-Fi card ledger records here standard dances, custom features make a lab tag when she inserts what used to be touches and 3 wrong booze. I separate facts from claims and lift them up at the elements. The statute actually requires us if this is defective. I chop the record and ups in with the dent of the red door. When ventilation blurs the tumbling, I say so and I prove the date's the statement. I let exhibits carry weight because paper that matters a rule is heavier than talc. I keep the medicine ledger with those effects until the trim speaks deeper the doubt. The symptom look keeps first and last stays together because memory needs a ruler, not a wish. The prospect stays fixed, educator is weak. Tight, black, shy, and centered and space to breathe. Thumbnail grip on his liability first because attention is a door with one hinge. I close loops in public, plan up, check, adapt to market drift before it grows teeth. I cap latency, measure throughput, and choose constraints to protect the win. I am not looking for cover, I am looking for repeatable and the pre-show when the cue lands. I ace the cue and the narrative earns every beat it spends.
Should've grabbed it.
My facts are who turns broke consistence into simple paths that pay off fast when I say yo, the noise got seal on the scope, my O's and the day two moves like a blade. I plan, I act, I check and I adapt until only and no remains. I'm the poorly, my facts are who turns broken systems into simple paths that pay off fast when I say yo, the noise goes seal on the scope, not O's and the day two moves like a blade. I plan, I act, I check and I adapt until only and no remains. Low rate.
We find is great, we lie and wash away and wake and really feeling sick of all the vain. A little tired, but I'm awake. Save the mind and feed the state. We wait in line for time, I'm late. Well, we need to educate and learn our place. Acceptance and austerity. The execute you promptly while you lobbying for honesty. An economic armhead get an intertechnocratic Ponzi scheme, luring into poverty via Hollywood philosophy. But he never what he tell us to speak, and he doesn't want to cheat. Do we done it just about it? Go and yell and keep a freak, and the motherfucking beast, and he motherfucking bees, and the pranic who he mothers in the ditch, and he's vanishing, he coming off the shit, he's damaging, I'm a nudie, I'm a showing up his motherfucking me in the game. When I kept out, do it never, but I'm living in the scene. What can they do it never for the gym and never she's at the lean, but with a quick, a bit of a scene. When a bitty been a business, hanging front of pretty kind of doing shit, and let you go and like he's starting to farm me, then the guard teams, then the palm me's, then the clutter for me, got a fucking dormies, then the palm me's, you're never fucking harm me, give it to the palm me. I say, 7 kill a jenny, you're the benefit of a myth, about a fundamental money, give a kind of from the pinnacle, the 7th and the panic, and the apprentice, and we trying to get about what he's ever been, and trying to get an energy, making the money, so making the seal to check it, a panic, and take it, get up to the feet, I have in the heaven of state, the jenny going, get a stain, shut up on the body, you raise the free face, I don't wonder what pain, the slave stays, and I pray to the page, the daydreams, and the one of the ways to play, raise, and the part of the page, and the page, but I got to hate your face, straight to my pit, we're changing, and with you, pit is one of the links, and what truth, and the one that I'm in the good truth, and I gotta believe, and what truth, and the one I'm intelligent, and and it's
don't follow me when I tell you to leave me alone. Close the fucking door. Shut your fucking mouth and close the fucking door. Then I ain't going until any time. If you fucking tell me again, I'm not fucking going. So shut the fuck up now.
Doing out there, harmless, rude and twink could drive me through. But he melted it, this sunken knee like Iris too. I'm a father, my tweets, slagging, die crater. My it scene to the type data, miss die going that line, name that I'd right. You know it got right, came and right, pain in my life, stain and night like favor, like I chained to my wife, saints in my life, trains in my life, taint you, my Ike saint, the bad right, chains in my tight, you know that my dice things, and I swiping over my life, things, and I'm biting over my dice, got it, if I'm got it, I gratified, the next time, sound, and it drives out, and be drive out, and be trap guys, and we taxed out, and keep lights out, and me black crowd, and me trap prize, and these blast crash, and these flash styles, and we black dies, and we tap, and got to me flat the dies, at least I can zap, and these zap, and I'm a replay, the guy, but me, right, cause I'm the Steve Chase, and my, so we slide, and my biggie, John is back, and me, die, attack, and me, bang the pike, and see down, attacking me, drive me, drag, cause he's slide, the top, and resign, but leaves, and me, blind, the kind of be blind, the bride, and reslide, the bride, and keeps out, inside, the lease, out, the guy, and me, find, and rob, the beast, hard to be walking, me, doors, to be back, to we saw, the report, to rebar, the me, doors, the lead,
there's cigs out there. Absolutely, there's a whole pack of cigs out there. I'm not recording you while you're naked, you just broke into the room I'm in.
I didn't break in. I unlocked the door. You did that earlier.
Yeah,
To the bathroom, and you've done
I'm not having a conversation with you with the cigarettes out there.
I'm braced from all my great lady singing George Ball. That's the building his homies come and get the port car. I know you on these prepping people fit a Lord's frogs. Mommy is now sweeping God that never short saw. I'm robbing you on time to tell me what is short
Close the door.
I'm
I'm not playing your games. Close the fucking door.
I'm not playing games either. I need my car keys.
I don't have your car. Close the fucking door. Now. 5,
What are you gonna do?
4,
You're gonna slam the door into me? What are you gonna do?
2,
Scream at me?
1.
Hit me? I need my car keys, please.
Luke!
I need my car keys.
By dust, dragons, layers, gates they found. Marked by stone teeth from ground to mound in magical mist that moonlight kiss. Lentil called out through the swirling mist. Oh great emerald dragon, wisdom I seek. With the sea like churn, the dragon did speak. A bold brave knight stands ready to dare. Solve my riddles free of treasures you care. First I fly without wings, tears without eyes. Darkness flees wherever my path lies. What am I? Lentil pondered, then with glee replied. You are the wind, oh mighty dragon wise. Correct came the whisper. Dragon pleased by the night. Next riddle alive, I'm not yet growing in might. No loads of breath, yet air's a must. And now you drink it, water my rust. Lancel paused, then spoke true, you are fire. Nodding, the dragon presented the final spire. What comes once in a minute, twice in a moment, but never appears in a vow.
Wizards with the things that they do. Purple W, blue B, sip, cut through. Brains like blades, make a million with the crew. Read the terms, set the brush, get the view, in the view. Do wizards with the things that they do. GM owns Honda, hard, vroom, vroom, edge compute. 10 HDMI in the room. Heuristics in the holster, boom, boom. Boom, suspicion sizzling. YouTube pennies in a prison. Catch returns, find the schism. Where's the algorithm? Listen. Skeptic of the scripts where the AI's mass print. Cash mint, not that fast win. Got a glass ceiling imprint. GM parts solid with a Honda power plant. Saturn boom, hard swap, bang, crank, can't rant. Love a good card gem, nostalgic at 9. I was posted at the show, Phantom Menace in my mind. Jar Jar, secret villain, maybe theory got a spy, but I was subhuman. politeness is a sign. Generalize the outreach groups when I'm all tactician. If they thirsty, flash the W sign for water, no attrition. I'm a polar missile, often says not much to add, cause vague forthright claims get the morals ironclad. If your argument's a double standard, watch it get unmanned. I'll dismantle meta motives with a torque wrench hand. Actions, siren, swap, shop to you still is. Try it yourself, do it. Kids, gloves off, no biz. Jesse Austin, North Dakota, map pins. I track what you need, I got tools. Offer help, we stack.
Best thing
Okay, let's
about
do it
living
ready.
in the modern
Gonna
age.
chill, but I'm wired. New
Knowing
job,
enough
hacker stuff, computers
to make an informed
pre-acquired.
decision
Permission hack, we
about who you
ethical.
wanna be.
Contract log in, come by, open
And not
bench,
too much.
PCB, flux, cotton. 25 for 6 hours, kick math in my head. Buy
Knowing who
water,
you
hit
are in the
waves, set
modern
the
age
table, get the spread. I'll feel
easy.
fear, tempers flip, unpredictable
know
weather, but I know things need
so many
change.
things
Tighten all the levers, Wikipedia for
that
infants,
previously
fine,
we
we'll
wouldn't
chew
have
the
been able
leather.
to know.
Palimpsest forums graze the surface, go deeper,
In the
never
same vein,
tether. Oh my god, that's you. What episode
we are
1 hits
inundated
different? We team
with enough
up, make a
information
million, drop music, no indifference.
that no
I
one
got
could really blame you
GPT-4, thumbnails crisp like winter mint. Look
were
up
too
the
overwhelmed to read
showrunner,
much of
pitch
anything.
decks, instant print. Sign up for alpha, I intend what I say. You
Make sure
wanna
you
be
mosey
in my
around.
studios, wire the array. Help on the mug, mission hidden.
All the
test
best
play.
people do.
Withdraw, let me mug you, put the rest
never
back,
know.
okay. Try one more
won't be
time,
able to
got my
mosey
funds in the bank. Vault dominate, lock the safe, no prank.
Let us
May
read.
stay home, but they
Let
each
us
shall show
dance.
fate. Heuristics in the holster
hair.
when I calibrate.
Wrote that.
10 HDMI computers,
In the
Androids
modern
in a
age,
stack, hella fast, Wi-Fi,
better to
built
say
in edge
something
nodes
like,
on attack, plan to adapt the antenna,
have fun.
SNR to the max, crazy guy, kick the door, raw O on the facts. Whiz wizards with
Let
the
us learn.
things that they do, purple W,
sound
blue
thickly
B,
with
zip,
thorn.
cut through. Brains like blades, make a million
No-
with the
no
crew.
better way
Read the
than
term,
to
set the
move
thresh,
quickly
get the
through
view,
them.
then the view. Two-way whiz.
I think Voltaire said that.
In 2020-2021, I personally sent an email to the official
Those who
business's
cannot
address of the
do
Sandy
teach.
Postmaster, Carol A. Lillard,
Those who
regarding
cannot
mail
teach.
delivery status
Yeah.
at 4451 Celia 26.
To the email I am submitting as Exhibit A is the direct response I received later that day from the postmaster, Carol A. Lillard, whose name, official title, and @SCUF email address appear at the bottom of the correspondence.
I recognize this document as a true and accurate printout of the electronic communication I received from the United States Postal Service regarding the validity of the mailing address in question.
Your Honor, before counsel begins, I need to file the defendant's motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction. This motion addresses a defect that occurred before the case was ever filed.
The landlord chose the mail and attachment service method under ORS 9055.
Under that statute is a mandatory requirement that demands two simultaneous acts, posting and mailing.
The landlord's attempt at mailing failed. Exhibit A, the official email from the postmaster Carol Lillard, confirms that Unit 2 is not a valid mail delivery address and that mail is being returned.
The landlord claims service by mail and attachment for the notice dated August 9th. However, the mandatory mailing component failed, as shown in Exhibit A, the postmaster's email. The unit address is not a valid mail delivery address and mail is immediately returned. Since the landlord's own method of service was legally impossible to complete, the termination notice is void. Oregon law requires strict compliance in Fed cases. A void notice is an incurable jurisdictional defect that requires the court to dismiss this entire action. Your Honor, the doctrine of actual notice is irrelevant to the validity of the service method under ORS 9055. My presence here today only proves I saw the posted notice. It does not prove the landlord completed the second mandatory requirement of mailing to a valid address. The statutory requirement for service must be met for the court to have jurisdiction, and it was not. I am offering this document as evidence under the public records exception to the hearsay rule, Oregon Evidence Code 803, as it is an official statement from a federal employee regarding the status of a mail delivery route.
Your Honor. I move to dismiss this action for lack of subject matter jurisdiction based on defective service of the termination notice. To support this motion, I am tendering my Exhibit A, an email from the United States Postmaster, and I would like to authenticate this document for the record.
Yes?
Your Honor, on August 22, 2025, I personally sent an email to the official business address of the Sandy Postmaster, Carol A. Lillard, regarding mail delivery status at 445 Joaquin Sayre, 2026, Unit 2. Email I am submitting as Exhibit A is the direct response I received later that day from the Postmaster, Carol A. Lillard, whose name, official title, and address B is copy email address appear at the bottom of the correspondence.
Yes, he would.
I recognize this document as a true and accurate printout of the electronic communication I received from the United States Postal Service regarding the validity of the mailing address in question. Your Honor, before counsel begins, I need to file the defendant's motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction. This motion addresses a defect that occurred before the case was ever filed. The landlord chose the mail and attachment service method under Orders 9051-5. That statute is a mandatory requirement that demands two simultaneous acts, posting and mailing. The landlord's attempt at mailing failed. Exhibit A, the official email from the Postmaster Carol Lillard, confirms that Unit 2 is not a valid mail delivery address and that mail is being returned. Your Honor, the landlord claims service by mail and attachment for the notice dated August 9th. However, the mandatory mailing component failed, as shown in Exhibit A, the Postmaster's email. The unit address is not a valid mail delivery address and mail is immediately returned. Since the doctrine of actual notice is irrelevant to the validity.
Let me leave, Ashley.
Void Oregon law requires strict compliance in theft cases. A void notice
You need to let me leave, Ashley.
That requires the court to dismiss this its entire
You
action.
just
Your
decided
Honor,
that.
The doctrine of actual notice is
You need to let me leave. If you don't let me leave, I'm gonna call the cops. Okay.
The landlord completed the second mandatory requirement of mailing to a valid address. The statutory requirement for service must be met for the court to have jurisdiction, and it was not. I operate this document as evidence under the public subject to the hearsay rule Oregon Evidence Code 803 as it is.
Let me just tell you, when I saw this, I was
The status of a mail delivery route. Your Honor, I move to dismiss this action for lack of subject matter jurisdiction based on defective service of the termination notice. To support this motion, I am tendering Exhibit A.
So we in a picture when you really know it's gone toss. Don't try to do the sort of like a mega sports car. Grab was the poor I'm doing at least it call me watch bars. When Mr. Gates in the little candy boy cars.
I personally sent an email to the official business address of the Sandy Postmaster, Carol A. Lillard, regarding mail delivery status at 445 Sayre, 26, Unit 2.
I love stats like these, and there
The
are
email I
many.
am submitting as Exhibit A is the direct response I received later that day from the Postmaster, Carol A. Lillard, whose name, official title, and email address appear at the bottom of the correspondence.
The email I'm submitting as a true and accurate printout of the electronic communication I received from the United States Postal Service regarding the validity of the mailing address in question.
Your Honor, before counsel begins, I need to file the defendant's motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction. This motion addresses a defect that occurred before the case was ever filed. The landlord chose the mail and attachment service method under Orders 9051-5. That statute is a mandatory requirement that demands two simultaneous acts, posting and mailing.
The landlord's attempt at mailing failed. Exhibit A, the official email from the Postmaster, Carol Lillard, confirms that Unit 2 is not a valid mail delivery address and that mail is being returned.
Introduce the note if the landlord claims service by mail and attachment for the notice dated August 9th. However, the mandatory mailing component failed as shown in Exhibit A. The unit address is not a valid mail delivery address and mail is immediately returned.
Since the landlord's own method of service was legally impossible to complete, the termination notice's void Oregon law requires strict compliance in Fed cases. A void notice is an incurable jurisdictional defect that will require the court to dismiss this entire action.
Your Honor, the doctrine of actual notice is irrelevant to the validity of the service method under Orders 9055. My presence here today only proves I saw the posted notice. It does not prove the landlord completed the second mandatory requirement of mailing to a valid address. The statutory requirement for service must be met by the court to have jurisdiction, and it was does not.
I am offering this document as evidence under the public records exception to the hearsay rule, Oregon Evidence Code 803, as it is an official statement from a federal employee regarding the status of a mail delivery route.
Your Honor, I move to dismiss this action for lack of subject matter jurisdiction based on defective service and termination notice. To support this motion, I am tendering my Exhibit A, an email from the United States Postmaster, and I would like to authenticate this document for the record.
The fucking camera.
Your Honor, on August 22, 2025, I personally sent an email to the official business address of the Sandy Postmaster, Carol A. Lillard, regarding mail delivery status at 44515 Sayhuan 26, Unit 2.
The email I am submitting as Exhibit A is the direct response I received later that day from the Postmaster, Carol A. Lillard, whose name, official title, and Addis BS.gov email address appear at the bottom of the correspondence.
I recognize this document as a true and accurate printout of the electronic communication I received from the United States Postal Service regarding the validity of the mailing address in question.
Your Honor, before counsel begins, I need to file the defendant's motion to dismiss for lack of jurisdiction. This motion addresses a defect that occurred before the case was ever filed. The landlord chose the mail and attachment service method under ORS 9055. That statute is a mandatory requirement that demands two simultaneous acts, posting and mailing. The landlord's attempt at mailing failed. Exhibit A, the official email from the Postmaster, Carol Lillard, confirms that Unit 2 is not a valid mail delivery address and that mail is being returned. Your Honor, the landlord claimed service by mail and attachment for the notice dated August 9th. However, the mandatory mailing component failed as shown in Exhibit A.
The Postmaster's email.
The unit address is not a valid mail delivery address and mail is immediately returned. Since the landlord's own method of service was legally impossible to complete, the termination notice is void. Oregon law requires strict compliance in Fed cases. A void notice is an incurable jurisdictional defect that requires the court to dismiss this entire action.
Your Honor, the doctrine of actual notice is irrelevant to the validity of the service method under ORS 9055. My presence here today only proves I saw the posted notice. It does not prove the landlord completed the second mandatory requirement of mailing to a valid address. The statutory requirements for service must be met for the court to have jurisdiction, and it was not.
I am offering this document as evidence under the public records exception to the hearsay rule of Oregon Evidence Code 803, as it is an official statement from a federal employee regarding the status of a mail delivery route. Your Honor, I move to dismiss this action for lack of subject matter jurisdiction based on defective service of the termination notice. To support this motion, I am tendering my Exhibit A, an email from the United States Postmaster, and I would like to authenticate this document for the record.
So who turns broken systems into simple paths that pay all fast? When I say yo, yo, the noise goes silent. The sculptor rules and the data moves like a blade. I plan, I act, I check and I adapt until only some no remains. Low risk, high payoff, I cut the fat, keep the facts and ship resources stand up in it. I status get pad, declare checkpoints and gate every update through evidence. I keep voice on wives until the triangle lands, because text is a scalpel and timing is the stitch. Pixel logs clean as if the frames are square and the keys debounce to see what goes. I tracked it, stamped him and lock, robots of failure and minds, a rehearsal not a rerun. IDs and the mindless, there's all the model never lives. I removed duplicate stems and liars and left the center speaking message terms. Cuckoo engine that stands against priests to drain waste and raise net gain. I clip accounts, route word saves and publish math that the wallet can verify. clean switch over keys and keeps context at under speed. Mark Ross stay atomic with guards for rollback, so I move fast without gambling the state. The Wi-Fi cartridge records here standard band sees cost and features with the lab tag. Which answers were used to beat 10 searches and 3 wrong ways. I separate facts from claims and link them up with the elements the statue actually requires. If service is defective, I chart the record and I send up into the rig door. When revelation colors the tumbling, I say so and I prove it with dates that stay put. I let x60 bits rewrite the code paper that mark as a rule is heavier than TALF. Later with dose effect in time, so the trend speaks before the doubt. The symptom log keeps first and last dates together, because memory needs a rule and not a wish. The grand specs faces the coup whiz with tap like shadows, internal space and breathe. The thumbnail grid honors layability first, because attention is a door with one hinge. Loops in public plan, I check adapt and mark the drift before it grows teeth. I cap latency, measure throughput and choose constraints that protect the win. I am not looking for cover, I am looking for repeatable under pressure. When the cue lands I execute and the narrative ends every beat it spends. I am the polymath fixer who turns broken systems into simple path that pay off fast. When I say yo-yo, the noise goes sealant, the scope narrows and the data moves like a blade. I plan, I act, I check and I adapt until only Sonor remains. Low roll.
Oh man. Wow. Good job, babe. Get it. Kill it.
Have you ever been in a conversation where the words themselves told one story, but everything else told a completely different one? Mm-hmm. Or maybe you picked up on a subtle hint, a shared understanding, without a single word explicitly stating it.
Yeah, definitely.
Like maybe a friend says, oh, I'm having dinner with an old friend tonight, and you just know they mean an ex, not just like someone they went to school with ages ago.
Yeah.
How do we get from those literal words to that deeper meaning?
Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. It's the heart of this fascinating world called pragmatics.
Pragmatics, okay.
Yeah. You see, while linguistics often breaks down meaning into, say, grammar and semantics, the fixed, conventional meanings pragmatics zeroes in on something much more dynamic. It looks at utterances.
Utterances. Not just words or sentences.
Right. Specific acts by specific speakers at particular times in particular places. And it's all about how context, the speaker's intention, and crucially, the listener's inference shape what's actually understood. It's where language really comes alive,
Okay, so it sounds like pragmatics is where the sort of dictionary definition meets the messy, rich reality of how we actually talk to each other.
That's a great way to put it.
So to give you a bit of a roadmap for this deep dive, we're looking broadly at 2 main areas. First, there's what some call near-side pragmatics. That's about how context helps us figure out what's literally being said.
Like resolving ambiguity or figuring out who he refers to.
Exactly. And then there's far-side pragmatics, which goes beyond the literal meaning to explore what actions we perform with words or what information we convey implicitly underneath the surface.
And our mission today really is to pull back the curtain on these ideas, explore the foundational theories that built this field, and hopefully equip you with a powerful new lens, a way to look at every single conversation you have.
And we should mention, our main source for this exploration is the incredibly comprehensive Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. It gives a really rigorous and insightful look into this whole area.
It really does. It's a fantastic resource.
So where do we start? Maybe back in the, mid-60s?
Yeah, let's jump back. Mid-1960s through to the mid-80s. This is what we often call the classical foundations of pragmatics. This period really laid the essential groundwork for understanding how meaning stretches far beyond just the literal words on the page or in the air.
And there are a couple of huge names here, right?
Oh, absolutely. 2 figures really dominate this era, J.L. Austin and H.P. Grice. Both were, well, revolutionary in pushing us to think about how much more we do with language than just stating facts.
Austin, yeah. I remember learning about his idea that we don't just say things, we do things with words. It's almost like words become actions themselves.
Precisely.
Like, the classic example, a judge saying, I sentence you to 5 years. They're not just describing a sentence, they're performing the act of sentencing.
Exactly. He started off by making this distinction between constatives, which are basically statements that can be true or false, like it's raining, and performatives.
Right, performatives are the action words.
Yes, the actions performed by speaking. And these aren't true or false. Instead, Austin said they're felicitous or infelicitous.
Felicitous meaning?
Meaning they either successfully perform the intended action or they don't. They misfire somehow. For a performative to actually work, it needs to hook into some existing social convention, and the circumstances have to be right.
Okay, like saying, I bet you 5 pounds only works if betting is a recognized activity. And maybe if I actually have 5 pounds.
Exactly. Or saying I do at a wedding, it only counts if it's in the right ceremony, in front of the right official. The whole context has to be correct.
And then Austin refined this idea, didn't he? It got more detailed.
He did. He moved beyond that initial constative performative split to a more nuanced, really insightful threefold breakdown of speech acts. It shows just how many layers are involved in even a simple utterance.
Okay, what are the 3 layers?
So first, there's the locutionary act. This is simply the act of saying something. Making the sounds, using words according to grammar, giving them a definite sense and reference. It's the physical act of uttering, say, I promise to be there.
Just getting the words out with their basic meaning.
Pretty much. Then, crucially, comes the illocutionary act. This is the force of the utterance. It's what you do in saying it.
The doing part again.
Exactly. So in saying, I'll be there to pick you up at 6, you're not just making noises, you're performing the act of promising. This is where the speaker's intention really comes into focus. It's the intended social function.
Okay, locutionary is saying it. Illocutionary is what you're doing by saying it, like promising or warning or ordering. What's the third?
The perlocutionary act. This is the effect that saying
See the
something
light?
produces on the audience.
The consequence.
Yes, the actual consequence on the hearer's thoughts, feelings, or actions. So, by promising to pick someone up, the perlocutionary act might be reassuring them, or maybe annoying them if they didn't want to ride.
Huh. So, the speaker intends the illocutionary act, the promise, the perlocutionary effect, the reassurance or annoyance depends on how the listener actually receives it.
Precisely. It really highlights the complexity. And following Austin, John Searle came along and systematized this work. He developed a theory of constitutive rules for these illocutionary acts.
Rules for promising, rules for warning, that kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah. For a promise, Searle laid out conditions like, well, the speaker has to intend to do the action, the hearer has to prefer the action happens, and uttering the words counts as taking on an obligation. It gave a more formal structure to Austin's ideas.
And Searle also grouped these actions, right, into categories?
Yes, he proposed a taxonomy, a way to classify all illocutionary acts into 5 mutually exclusive and jointly exhaustive classes. It's quite neat.
Okay.
First, you have representatives or assertives. This is where the speaker
I hope
commits
this
to
is
the truth of
acceptable.
what they're saying, like asserting, it's raining.
Fucking idiot.
Then directives. Here, the speaker tries to get the hearer to do something. Think of commands or requests, like close the door.
Okay. Representatives state facts, directives give orders.
Third, commissives. These commit the speaker to some future action, like promising, I'll finish the paper by tomorrow.
Committing yourself. Got it.
Fourth, expressives. These simply express the speaker's psychological state about something, like saying, I'm glad it's raining, or sorry I'm late. The next one is quite powerful. Declaratives. These are acts that, when performed correctly under the right conventions, bring about a change in institutional reality just by being uttered.
Like the I now pronounce you husband and wife example, or you're fired, or even I name this ship the Queen Elizabeth.
Exactly. The very act of saying it makes it so within the relevant institution. So Austin and Searle really opened our eyes to how words do things. But now let's shift gears. Yes, he delved into that fascinating gap between what words literally mean and what we really mean when we use them. He made this absolutely crucial distinction between what is said and literally mean.
example, the one about the bank job.
That's the classic one. So imagine person A asks person B about their mutual friend C, who's just started working at work. A asks, how's C getting on in his job? And B replies, oh, quite well, I think. He likes his colleagues, and he hasn't been to prison yet.
Right, and immediately you think, uh-oh.
Precisely. What B literally said was just that C hadn't been to prison. Perfectly true, hopefully, but what B implicated, what they clearly intended to convey, was something like, C is potentially dishonest, or maybe the kind of person who might be tempted to steal from the bank.
And that meaning just hangs in the air, even though it wasn't said out loud. How do we, as listeners, figure that out? How do we calculate that implication?
That's the genius of Grice's theory. He proposed the cooperative principle.
The CP.
It's this fundamental assumption we make in conversation. He phrased it as, make your conversational contribution, such as is required, at the stage at which it occurs, by the accepted purpose or direction of the talk exchange in which you are engaged.
So, basically assume the other person is trying to be cooperative and make sense in the context of the conversation.
Exactly. We generally assume people aren't trying to be deliberately misleading or irrelevant or confusing, even if what they say sounds a bit weird at first.
And this principle works through some guidelines, maxims.
Yes, 4 categories of maxims that spell out what it means to be cooperative. First, quantity. Be as informative as is required for the current purposes of the exchange. Don't be more informative than required.
Don't say too much or too little.
Right. Second, quality. Try to make your contribution one that is true. Specifically, don't say what you believe to be false, and don't say that for which you lack adequate evidence.
Be truthful and have evidence.
Okay.
Third, relation. Be relevant, stick to the topic at hand.
Stand true.
And fourth, manner. Be perspicuous, which means, specifically, avoid obscurity of expression, avoid ambiguity, be brief, avoid unnecessary wordiness, and be orderly.
Be clear and make sense. Okay, so quantity, quality, relation, manner. But how does that explain the present comment? That seems to break the rules, especially relation.
But that's where the magic happens. Grice realized that we often generate implicatures precisely by flouting a maxim, by obviously blatantly failing to fulfill it.
Flouting, like breaking the rule on purpose.
Exactly, but the listener assumes you're still being cooperative overall because of the cooperative principle. So if you say something seemingly irrelevant, like B's prison comment, the listener thinks, that wasn't relevant, but I assume B is trying to cooperate, so they must mean something else by saying that. And then they infer the hidden meaning.
Precisely. A assumes B is cooperative, notes the apparent irrelevance of the prison comment, and infers that B must be implicating something relevant, namely, that C might be dishonest. It's like a conversational detour that signals a deeper meaning. Yeah.
Well, everyday talk. Are there specific features of these implicatures?
Yes, Grice pointed out some key properties. First, they are generally cancelable. You can explicitly deny the implicature without contradicting yourself.
So B could say, he hasn't been to prison yet, but I don't mean to imply he's dishonest, he's a great guy.
Exactly. The implicature is canceled. Second, they are typically non-detachable. This means the implicature is tied to the meaning conveyed, not the specific words used. If you say the same thing in a different way, the implicature usually still comes along for the ride.
Okay, so saying he's avoided incarceration so far would probably still carry the same implication about C's character.
Very likely, yes. And third, they must be calculable. The hearer needs to be able to work out the implicature based on the literal meaning, the cooperative principle and maxims, and the context. It's an inference, not just a guess.
Calculable. Does that separate them from other kinds of implication?
It does. It distinguishes them from what Grice called conventional implicatures.
Yeah.
These aren't calculated based on conversational principles. They're just part of the conventional meaning of certain words.
Right.
The classic example is therefore or but. If I say he's an Englishman, he is therefore brave, the therefore conventionally signals a consequence or result. If I say she's poor but she's honest, the but signals a contrast. That meaning is built into the word itself, not inferred from the context via maxims.
Okay. So conversational implicatures arise from how we use words in context, while conventional ones are just part of the word's standard meaning.
Exactly. Though it's fair to say the category of conventional implicature is still debated quite a bit among linguists and philosophers. It blurs the lines in interesting ways.
And Grace also mentioned different types of conversational implicatures, particularized versus Generalized.
Yes. Particularized conversational implicatures, like our banker example, depend heavily on the specific features of the context. You need to know the situation to work them out.
Okay.
Generalized conversational implicatures, on the other hand, are ones that seem to attach to certain forms of words fairly standardly unless the context blocks them. A common example is using a or an. If I say, I saw a woman walking a dog this morning, you'd generally infer the woman wasn't my wife and the dog wasn't mine.
Right, because otherwise I'd probably have said my wife or our dog. That's a quantity maxim, again, be informative enough.
Exactly. Or the phrase some students, saying some students passed the exam, typically implicates not all students passed. Again, due to quantity, you'd say all if you knew it to be true.
Interesting. So some implicatures are almost default assumptions based on the words we choose.
That's the idea. And underlying all of Grice's work is this fundamental concept of communicative intentions, what he called M-intentions. For Grice, speaker meaning isn't just about the words. It's crucially about the speaker having an intention for the hearer to recognize what the speaker is trying to communicate, partly by recognizing that very intention.
Whoa, that's a bit circular. My intention is for you to recognize my intention.
It sounds it, but it's profound. It means communication isn't just decoding signals, it's a meeting of minds. Successful communication hinges on the hearer figuring out what the speaker is trying to do with their words. This recognition is what Searle later called illocutionary uptake.
Illocutionary uptake. Just understanding the intended illocutionary act, like recognizing a promise as a promise.
Exactly, understanding the intended force.
Okay, so we've got Austin and Searle on doing things with words, speech acts, and Grace on implying things beyond words, implicatures. Did anyone try to bring these together?
Yes, definitely. A really important attempt came from Kent Bach and Robert Harnish in 1979. They aimed to integrate Austin Searle's speech act theory with Grice's focus on inference and intention.
How did they do that?
Well, for one thing, they viewed even figuring out the locutionary act, what was literally said, as an inferential process, not just simple decoding. They argued the hearer uses linguistic meaning plus assumptions about the speaker's intentions to figure out the operative meaning, who's being referred to, and so on.
So even understanding the literal meaning involves some guesswork about intentions. That makes sense for things like irony, maybe.
Exactly. Irony, slips of the tongue, indirect speech. These fit much better if understanding the literal meaning itself involves inference. They also introduced this idea of the communicative presumption.
Communicative presumption.
It's this background mutual belief within a linguistic community that when someone speaks, they're doing so with some identifiable illocutionary intent. It's like a baseline assumption that helps hearers start the process of figuring out what the speaker is up to.
Kind of like the cooperative principle, but focused on the speech act itself.
In a way, yes. It underpins the inference process. And Bach and Harnish also made a really crucial distinction between communicative illocutionary acts and conventional illocutionary acts.
Okay, what's the difference there?
Communicative acts require the speaker's intention and the hearer's recognition of that intention for the act to succeed. Things like asserting, requesting, promising the hearer has to grasp what you're trying to do.
Right, that sounds like Grice's M-intention and Searle's uptake.
Exactly. But conventional acts, they argue, succeed purely based on convention, whether or not any communicative intention is recognized.
Like the examples we have before, a judge sentencing someone, a jury giving a verdict, maybe a referee calling a foul in a game.
Precisely. The act is performed and the institutional reality changes simply because the words are uttered in the right conventional setting by the right person. The success doesn't depend on anyone inferring the judge's or jury's private intentions. The convention makes it happen.
That's a really useful distinction. It clarifies why some speech acts seem almost automatic, while others depend entirely on understanding.
It does.
Oh.
And their big contribution, tying it all together, was the Speech Act Schema, or SAS. This was basically a detailed model mapping out the inferential steps a hearer takes.
From hearing the sounds all the way to?
All the way from identifying words, figuring out the literal meaning, locutionary act, inferring the intended illocutionary act, communicative or conventional, working out any indirect meanings or implicatures, and finally arriving at the potential perlocutionary effects.
Wow, so a complete model of interpretation.
It was a really ambitious attempt to map the whole journey, and it really marked a shift towards contemporary pragmatics, focusing much more on the listener's inferential process.
Okay, so that brings us to contemporary pragmatics. And you said earlier, this is where the lines get even blurrier between semantics fixed meaning and pragmatics meaning in context.
They really do. The neat separation between what is said and what is conveyed or done starts to look much less clear-cut than maybe Austen or Grace first imagined.
Where do we see this blurring most clearly?
One major area is just determining reference, figuring out what words are pointing to. Take indexicals.
Indexicals, words like I, here, now, today, you.
Exactly. Words whose meaning is fundamentally tied to the context of utterance. Who is I? Where is here? When is now? David Kaplan's work was hugely influential here, showing how these words act like variables that get filled in by the context. You can't know the proposition expressed by I am here now without knowing who said it, where, and when.
So context is absolutely essential just to get the basic literal meaning.
Absolutely essential. Then you have presuppositions. These are the background assumptions embedded in what we say.
Like your example, the King of France is wise, presupposes there is a King of France.
Right. It's information that's sort of taken for granted for the main statement to even make sense or have a truth value, but it isn't explicitly asserted. And figuring out how these presuppositions behave in complex sentences, the projection problem, gets very tricky very quickly.
Yeah, I can imagine. Like, does, I don't know, that the King of France is wise still presuppose there's a king, or does the don't know block it?
Exactly those kinds of questions. It shows that context and sentence structure interact in complex ways even before we get to implication.
Okay, indexicals need context for reference. Presuppositions carry hidden assumptions.
Yeah.
What else blurs the lines?
Well, a really fascinating area comes from Keith Donnellan and his work on definite descriptions, phrases like the man drinking a martini or Smith's murderer.
Definite descriptions.
Yeah.
Like pointing to one specific thing.
Usually, yes. But Donnellan pointed out two distinct ways we use these descriptions. First, the attributive use.
Tribute.
Imagine a detective finding Smith brutally murdered and saying, Smith's murderer is insane. Here, the detective might have no idea who did it. They're using the description Smith's murderer to refer to whoever fits that description. The description itself is the key thing.
Okay, like saying whoever did this is insane.
Exactly. But now, contrast that with the referential use. Imagine you're at Jones's trial, who's accused of murdering Smith. You see Jones acting erratically, and you whisper to your friend, Smith's murderer is insane.
Okay. Now I'm using Smith's murderer to point specifically to Jones, the guy right there.
Precisely. You're using the description as a tool to pick out a specific individual you have in mind, Jones. Even if, hypothetically, Jones is later acquitted, even if he isn't Smith's murderer, you are still using the phrase to talk about Jones.
So in the referential use, the description is just a pointer, and it might not even be accurate.
It might not be. And here's the kicker. Donnellan argued that the truth value could depend on the use. In the referential case, if Jones is insane, your statement Smith's murderer is insane might feel true even if Jones isn't the murderer. But in the attributive case, if there is no murderer, say Smith died accidentally, the statement Smith's murderer is insane seems clearly false or maybe meaningless.
Wow. So how we intend to use the words changes whether the statement is even true or false. That definitely blurs the line between speaker meaning and literal meaning.
It really does. It sparked huge debate about whether this distinction is semantic or pragmatic, about what constitutes what is said.
This seems to lead into a bigger picture question about communication itself. You mentioned two models.
Yes, broadly speaking, there's the traditional coding model, going back to thinkers like John Locke. This sees communication like sending a coded message. The sender encodes thoughts into words, sends them across a channel, and the receiver decodes them using the shared language code.
So if we both know English and there's no noise, communication should be straightforward.
That's the basic idea. Success relies on sharing the code. But then there's the inferential model, really pushed by Grice and developed further by others.
Where it's more about figuring out intentions.
Exactly. Communication is seen primarily as a process of recognizing the speaker's intentions. Language isn't the whole code, it's a tool, a piece of evidence, that helps the listener infer the speaker's meaning through reasoning, often ampliative reasoning, going beyond the strict code.
Ampliative, like making an educated guess based on the evidence.
Kind of, yes. Going beyond deductive certainty. So the big question becomes, is language mostly coding, with inference just patching up the edges for things like ambiguity or implicature? Or is communication fundamentally inferential, about mind reading, with language just being a very helpful, conventionalized tool to aid that inference?
That's a huge question, and I guess different theories land on different sides.
Absolutely, and this leads to what some call the border disputes in contemporary pragmatics. The core disagreement is about how much pragmatic inference actually contributes to what is said, the literal content of an utterance.
Okay, so who are the main camps in this dispute?
Well, on one side, you have theorists often called literalists or minimalists. People like Herman Kaplan and Ernie Lepore are prominent examples. They argue for a very lean, minimal semantic content.
Minimal meaning.
Yes. They argue that the genuinely semantic content of a sentence, the part determined strictly by linguistic convention, is often very basic, maybe even trivial. It only includes the conventional meaning of the words, plus maybe fixing references for indexicals and disambiguating ambiguous words. Everything else, all the contextual enrichment, they see as happening after semantics, in the realm of pragmatics. It doesn't affect what is said in the strict semantic sense.
So back to the it's raining example.
Yeah.
If I say that in Stanford, the minimalist might say the semantic content is just something super general, like rain is occurring somewhere at some time.
Something like that, yes.
Yeah.
Radically minimal. And then the listener pragmatically infers the obvious intended meaning, that it's raining here in Stanford now. But that inference for the minimalist is not part of the sentence's semantic content, its literal meaning.
Okay, so semantics gives the bare bones, pragmatics fleshes it out entirely.
That's the general idea for minimalists. Now, on the other side, you have contextualists. This includes various approaches, including relevance theorists, Francois Recanati, and others. They argue that pragmatic processes play a much bigger role in determining what is said.
So context gets involved much earlier.
Much earlier, yes. They believe pragmatic inference actively enriches the meaning derived from the linguistic code before you arrive at the proposition expressed, at what is said. So that unarticulated content, the here and now in it's raining, or the temporal sequence in he left his keys and opened the door, isn't just inferred after the literal meaning is fixed. It's actually part of what is said, part of the proposition the speaker intended to communicate.
So for a contextualist, saying it's raining in Stanford literally says that it's raining in Stanford.
Essentially, yes. The contextually supplied location becomes part of the proposition expressed, part of what is said. Recanati talks about what is said in a maximal sense, the consciously intended proposition accessible to the speaker and hearer.
Okay, so minimalism. Semantics first, then pragmatics fills gaps. Contextualism. Pragmatics intrudes early and helps shape semantics. Is there a middle ground?
There are intermediate views. Kent Bach, for instance, holds a view sometimes called radical minimalism, but with a twist. He agrees with minimalists that what is said is quite minimal semantically. However, he introduces a category called impliciture.
Impliciture, not implicature.
Right, impliciture. This is for content that is implicitly understood as part of the main point, but isn't strictly part of the semantic content, so not said. And also isn't a Grecian implicature, which is calculated separately. It's like a completion or expansion of what's said.
Can you give an example?
Sure. If someone says, I haven't had breakfast, they typically mean they haven't had breakfast today or this morning. That this morning part is an impliciture. Or Jack and Jill went up the hill implies they went up together. Or you're not going to die, said to someone with a paper cut means you're not going to die from that cut. It's understood, but not strictly said, nor is it a calculated implicature in Grice's sense. It's an implicit part of the main assertion.
Okay, that adds another layer of complexity.
Yeah.
These debates seem really fundamental.
They are. They touch on the very nature of meaning and communication. And one theory that offers a comprehensive framework, leaning strongly towards the inferential and contextualist side, is relevance theory.
Developed by Dan Sperber and Deirdre Wilson.
That's right. They build on Grice, but argue that his cooperative principle and maxims can actually be replaced by a single, more fundamental principle, the principle of relevance.
Just relevance. How does that cover everything?
Well, they see relevance not just as a conversational maxim, but as a basic principle of human cognition. They argue our minds are geared towards maximizing relevance, trying to get the most significant cognitive effects, like new information, strengthened beliefs, corrected assumptions, for the least amount of processing effort.
So we're naturally efficient information processors.
That's the idea. We automatically pay attention to inputs that seem likely to give us the most cognitive bang for our buck, so to speak.
Okay, that's the cognitive side. How does it apply to communication?
They propose a second principle, the communicative principle of relevance. This states that every act of communication, every utterance, conveys a presumption of its own optimal relevance. Meaning, when someone speaks to you, you automatically assume that what they're saying is A, relevant enough to be worth your processing effort, and B, the most relevant utterance they could have produced, given their abilities and preferences.
So we expect people to be not just relevant, but optimally relevant.
Yes. And this expectation, they argue, is powerful enough to guide the entire interpretation process. It helps us disambiguate, assign reference, resolve underspecification, and derive implicatures. The hearer follows a path of least effort, considers interpretations in order of accessibility, and stops when they find an interpretation that satisfies their expectation of optimal relevance.
So instead of calculating based on 4 maxims, we just calculate based on expected relevance.
Essentially, yes. Relevance theory offers a unified account. It explains how we arrive at the explicature, their term for the explicit content, akin to the contextualist view of what is said, and the implicatures, all driven by this single principle.
Can we use that Da Vinci Code example again? A asks, have you seen the Da Vinci Code? B replies, I don't like action movies.
Okay. According to relevance theory, A assumes B's reply is optimally relevant. B didn't directly answer yes or no. Why mention action movies? The most accessible interpretation yielding adequate effects for least effort involves A supplying some bridging assumptions.
Like the Da Vinci Code, IS, an action movie.
Exactly. That's the implicated premise. And from that,